It's 8 o'clock.
Hey, it's April 3rd, it's Thursday, and Jimmy's here. Where is Jimmy? There he is. Oh, everything's so bright. Turn down that a little bit so delayed broadcast. This is too bright. Let's turn that down a little bit, yeah. Epidemic sound instrumental. Yes. He's supposed to be background music. Epidemic sound instrumental is our royalty-free programming that we throw in the background. We're streaming it from YouTube Live, and then we're turning it around and pumping it from the iPad Pro's microphone output, slipping it by a wire that goes right into the second port up here, which it's up here, and from there it goes into channel number 2, which I can go up or down. Yeah, right there is where the detent is. And it's supposed to be the perfect balance between the speaker's voice and, well, it sounds really good. If you have headphones and you have a good bandwidth on your iPad or your MacBook or your Windows, depending on, all that stuff. It's really quite you can put that in your earpods and you can be, cleaning the dishes, and it's really quite good. And it goes on and on, different kind of sounds as you go through. It's a 3-hour and 1 minute, something like that. It's a really long. Let's check that out. 3 hours, 1 minute, and 24 seconds. So we've used 4 minutes of it already. But when that goes to the next in line, I have these favorites kind of lined up in order, and they're all royalty free for about 5 or 6 of them, and then they turn off. Then they're not royalty free, so that's when I go. That's when I've never been over 3 hours. But you never can tell. I think I've been right at 3 hours. And then I said, come on, stop talking. You get me talking, I can talk. I can talk to myself for almost ever and ever. Yeah. So, obviously the big, let's go to, let's go to camera 2. Camera 2. Can you believe it? I am so full of crap. There is a camera 2. What's going on here? There it is. Let me put we're wasting bandwidth. Everything that moves. You see, you have all these keys and all these lights. We'll cover that up. It's just a distraction. It's the keyboard on my MacBook, but I have an alternate keyboard over on my desk over here. I can swing around. I have another desk. Yeah, lucky guy. Let's see. Yeah. So I have that keyboard at a little bit of an angle, so I can just whip around in this chair, and it's Bluetoothed to my MacBook Pro here, so I can change. I can change my screen so it gets real dark. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I guess you can. And I can turn it brighter so that it's all the way bright, minus 2 clicks. There we go. And that way it's nice and bright for you, and I can see it well. So the big news of the day is the stock futures. And let's see what they are now. Here it is right here. Screaming and streaming. There it is. Let's track it down. Down 2 point. Yeah, it keeps going down. There it is. It's kind of, I have it on. I've done a reverse. It's real jumpy. I did a reverse pinch on this, and I think I pushed it to the limit, so that way you could see what it is real time in U.S. dollars. The stock futures, as of 8:06 a.m. on April the 3rd, Thursday morning, before, this is an hour and a half before stock market opens at 9:30, and it's about actually 25 seconds after 8:30, because you hear this bang, 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 you know, the bell. So when the bell stops ringing, that's when the trades begin, and it's going to be a little fierce, unless these futures change around, which I checked it out, about 10 minutes ago, about 5 or 8 minutes before airtime, if you will. Yeah. This is a Simulcast over 3 social networks. You can see by the ticker tape that's going along the very top, in yellow. You can call in, you can text me at 561-416-1100. It'll come up on one of these iPads. But we were simulcasting over Facebook Live. Then we brought in YouTube Live. And then we brought in Twitter Live. So that now, simultaneously, all 3 social networks are carrying me. And I have over 400 broadcasts over a couple year period of time. Marilyn says you have to have a time. You can't just do it whenever the hell you want to. She didn't use help. She's a lady. So she said, you have to have a time. So my time is between 8 and 8:15 every morning. And today I was right on time. As a matter of fact, I was a minute before 8 when I started broadcasting with Epidemic Sound Instrumental. I usually start off with about 30 seconds or so of Epidemic Sound Instrumental, and then then I burst in and say, hello, this is Thursday morning. Remember, the way this is not a news hour, okay? This is, I would call it an opinion show. I try to stay in the middle. It's fun to be in the middle of a political fight. Excuse me while I have a sip of my morning coffee. The futures let's see. It's coming back a little bit. You know, it's uppy, downy, downy. These guys are trading, fiercely trading actual shares that, you know, there's pre-market activity, as is their post-market activity last night, till I think like 6 p.m., 4:30, yeah, maybe an hour and a half. Well, there's pre-market trading also. So these futures, I'm looking at the percent. You know, it was as bad as like minus 2.85%. Now it's minus 2.71%. So, you know, it's gone down to 41,050, 60, something like that. The streaming chart is a little tedious, so I'm not showing you a chart because, you know, in an hour and a half, the stock market is going to go live. And the question is, how abrupt will it be? Everyone's scared, you know. I'll tell you what they're scared about. That's, even though that's in miniature, can you see? Yeah, you can see the miniature, yeah. There it is. Yeah. Let's swipe up on my Tesla car. I can pull this over. I'm using my finger to pull this over. Whoops, it wants to be over there. So this is a screen when you start from the very bottom and you kind of flip up a little bit, and you can see which windows are open. So I have Safari open there showing the futures index. I had to Google futures index. This is invest.com is publishing this. Let's touch on that and make it. You see in the very, very top where it says welcome, investing.com. Yeah. So even if I come up halfway, so you can see all the other windows that are potentially open, we're going to click on photos, and a friend of mine gave me a video and said, can you bring this down to 20 megabytes? He's probably sending it to somebody, and it had to do with an aftermarket Tesla charging thing. You know, so on the very top of that, up in that corner, that plugs into the 230 volts. And then this cord on the bottom, that plugs into the Tesla car, and it has a Tesla plug. And this is like a control box. I don't know what, I'm not too sure what it does. But you see in that circle, you see there's like when he picked this thing up, it was like hanging down after he plugged it in, and then he reached down and he pulled this thing up. He's holding it, and then right below his wrist, whoosh, there was like a burst of stuff coming out of the bottom side of that gadget, that aftermarket thing. And there's like a puff of smoke too. And you can see, it looks like, it's some kind of material. I would say it's like water. So I think that's been water damaged. I think there's water inside of that. And water has minerals and it's conductive. And he could get a big shock, and throw himself across the room. So I sent him a text message with the arrow pointed at it. Hello, what do you think I'm angling at here with this picture? And I said, do not plug that thing back in again without electrical insulating and heat protective, gloves. Because the results could be shocking. I mean, if he had his hand down a little lower, and that blast hit him in the wrist, you can get electrocuted, because I think there's water inside that thing. And you've got 230 volts at 48 amps. That's enough to turn you into a French fry. You'll jiggle and stand and jiggle, and then you'll fall down dead. So that's nothing to mess around with. So I sent him a message: do not plug that in again. Yeah. Please do not plug that in again. This is serious stuff here. My God, darn. Anyway, the news. That's local news. He sent me this clip. Hopefully he's, he hasn't already juiced himself by doing that demonstration again. He did that demonstration and videoed it. And of course, then he sent me the clip and he said, can you reduce the size? Because it was like 30 megabytes. And apparently whoever he's sending it to has a 20 megabyte limit on the file size. And that's a familiar threshold. So I said, I can clip it, because, I'll show, you can show it right up to the point where that goes, the electric shock treatment. Because when you pick that up, that popped. And he dropped it and raised his arm. Well, you know what? You don't want to do that again. What, are you kidding? He's got his bare hand there. Oh, jeez. Please. Whew. So I don't know where he got it. But it looks like, there's either a loose piece in there flopping around, or it's, water damaged. Someone left it out in the rain. So hopefully maybe he left it out in the rain. It's not a Tesla product. I have the Tesla one, and it has a similar control box there, and it's probably it's a connection so that the three wires, with the 230 volt, you have the top leg and the bottom leg, and they're 115 volts each. And you go across the two legs and you get 230 volts. And then the middle one is the ground. I don't know if you're familiar with the electrical circuits, but anyway, that box converts the three wires that are coming out of the wall socket into a proper configuration with the Tesla cord. Because you don't want to have the polarity wrong, or you want to make sure the ground is connected to the ground. I mean, I don't think it's rocket science on doing that, but there is in other words, that control box, you can have, different plug settings. There are actually 4 prongs on that NEMA 1450 plug. You got a 1450 reciprocal and you have a 1450 plug, and if you look at the end of the plug, it's got 4 prongs, so you have the L1, L2, neutral in the middle, and then ground. And all my electrical engineering friends out there, come on at me, baby. I'm ready. Anyway, that's what that box does. It makes sure those 4 wires are in the right sequence, that is required by the Tesla plug, which has been adopted by all global manufacturers, and U.S. manufacturers. Everybody has agreed to the Tesla plug, whether they build their own chargers or not. Because, Tesla already has literally 20,000 charging stations in North America and Europe, and a couple in Australia, and so forth. So, these are chargers that are, on the side of a road somewhere. Usually connected with not connected financially, but somewhere close to a Starbucks or, a general store, a small general store, like 7-Eleven, that kind of thing. So they try to have something else so that you can plug your car in and walk over to the Starbucks, go in the men's room, for example, and, put your hands under the faucet and sprinkle water on your face, and then get a paper towel and dry up your face and rinse your hands off. You might relieve yourself if you have to go number one or whatever. Remember number one when you were a little boy or little girl? Oh, you have to go in and do number one. You have to go in and tinkle. Mommy, I gotta go tinkle. Yeah, well, when you're charging your car, when you drive, 2, 3, 4 hours, the Tesla Model Y and Model 3, the long-range battery runs about 300 miles, somewhere between 300 and 280, depending on the age of your battery, because over time, the amount of energy that you can throw into a lithium-ion, the battery pack, and the way the chemistry is designed. I think Epidemic is getting louder. Let's just cut him down a little bit. There we go. I like to have Epidemic in the background because we are streaming across 3 networks, and we want to make sure there's always some signal. So when I take a breath, which is rarely, I'm like in continuous mode when you go broadcasting. And my next topic is shaking there, just to. It has to do with the United States government's reciprocal trade requirements as of immediately. This is not like any future thing. This is NOW, now. This morning, I don't know whether it was at 6 p.m., but he was on the air at like 4 p.m. in the afternoon, and this is these. Whoops, let's get this over here. Whoops, shrink it down a little bit. There we go. I want you to be able to see. See, I'm under cameraman. I'm supposed to be on the other side. Would you swap cameras? There we go. Yeah, I'm very picky. I like to be on the right side of middle. See, there's the middle right there. I like to be on the right side of middle, not on the left side. I'm right in that middle category, plus or minus 2%. I believe in everybody should receive, health benefits. If you need it and you can't pay for it, then our society should help you. It's as simple as that. You can't, you can't do otherwise. How that would be, not humane with a society as wealthy as ours is, or pseudo-wealthy. I would call ourselves pseudo-wealthy. Yeah. Anyway, here is the reciprocal tariff in yellow all the way over. This column right there on the very right side in yellow, which says, China, you're charging us 67% a tariff when we send you stuff to China. So that means that gets, in theory, marked up. So the Chinese people are paying 167% of something that would have been cheaper at 100% of what its value, is. So if you were going to buy an American-made, what would you buy if you were in China? Some gizmo, a clock, a display of some unique type. Let's say you bought a second-hand, a refurbished iPad for, an older one, and you bought it for $100. And it's going across over to, they're charging us to import into the Chinese population 167%. So that $100 item would be $167. Where I could buy it over here for $100, the Chinese got to pay the same thing, for if it gets exported, into China, it comes in at $167. So what we're saying is that China, we should charge you 67% to export things into the United States. But we're going to be nice. We're going to cut it in half and round up. So that must be 67%, 0.8, because they rounded to 34%. So this is the kinder, gentler Mr. Trump, effective immediately. So everything that comes into the United States, all that Chinese stuff that you dump into the United States, and there will be a reciprocal. We're going to charge you 34%. So if you send us a $100 item, the American people, that item is going to come in at par at $134 instead of $100. Simple as that. And the United States government is going to get that 34%. And you can go down the list. The European Union is going to pay 20%. Vietnam is going to pay, look at that, they got a 90% tariff on everything we send to them. And apparently there's a lot of stuff made in Vietnam, Taiwan, and Japan. So those three next companies, which are on the very top here, whoops, let's just do it right there because I don't want you to get it tied up with my banner that's going along the ticker tape. Yeah, we're broadcasting live from downtown Boca Raton, Florida. Partly cloudy today. It's in the mid-80s, and it's 69.6 in our studio here, which is, it was 67 earlier this morning, and now it's 69. It must be because of all the hot air I'm blowing around here. And look at it, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Japan. 46, 32, and 24. That is what we are tagging on everything that you are schlepping into the American population. Yeah. Back in the 1900s, we had tariffs on certain countries, and the global marketplace was such that they really wanted to, these countries like Japan particularly, they really wanted to sell stuff, like TVs into, no, they didn't have TVs then. They really wanted to sell stuff, to the American public, whatever they make, and the U.S. government applied tariffs, so that there was like an equalizing effect, from stuff made in China as opposed to stuff made in the United States. So, and back in the 1900s, which is 125 years ago, can you believe, there was no income tax. The tariffs that we collected in money, paid for the operation of our government. Not the American people. They paid nothing. They didn't have to pay anything because the tariff income was such that it basically paid for the operation of our government. And of course, our government was a lot smaller then. When you have this, zero-based budgeting stuff. So, you know what that means in government speak? It means that we're going to grow our payroll by 7%. I mean, that's just like a given. So how much more do we want to grow? We want to grow another 2%? All right, so we're going to go up 2%. But that's on top of the 7%. They don't tell you that zero-based budgeting doesn't mean zero like, I would intuitively think. It means that they're going to get their automatic 7%, and then, because we're going into a new year, we're going to ask for another 2 or 3% on top of that. So that means it's like 10%. But they don't say 10, they say 3. So, that's one of these little government things. But they keep doing that, year after year, and all of a sudden now we got 4.5 million people on the payroll. God darn. That's, it includes the military. There's probably 1 million there in the military. You got a whole bunch of, expenses with, HRS, the health business. Anyway, back to tariffs. So you can see the list. There is no significance in blue and the white other than just giving you something so you can stream your eyeball across. Like Switzerland, they charge us 61%. We're going to charge them 31%. And if they retaliate, I'm just making this up now. I don't have a direct line into the White House. But if, like, Thailand, it's 8:33 in the morning and my tongue is tied to my upper jaw. So let's go down one to Switzerland. So if Switzerland said, okay, you wise guys, we're going to increase our tariff to 70% because you're charging us 31%. We're going to go up to 70%. Well, you know what the United States will do? If you're going to charge us 70%, we're going to charge you 70%. So the 31 is not effective anymore. It's going to be 70 because we're going to match you. And we gave you a break. So you want to retaliate? It won't be 31%. It'll be the same thing you're charging us. Currently I'm the kinder, gentler, American, and we're basically saying whatever you're charging us, we're going to charge you half. But we're going to charge you. So if you drop it, If you dropped it to zero, then we're going to be at zero. So, yeah, I mean that's. I'd rather have everybody drop their tariffs to zero, and I promise I will drop our tariffs to zero. All right. So if we have equal footing, God bless you, we'll have equal footing. So here's the United Kingdom, for example. They're charging us 10%. We're going to charge them 10%. Apparently, we're not going under 10 on anything, on anybody. Colombia is also at 10, the very bottom of the list. So going back to the United Kingdom, you look at each other and say, you're charging us 10%, we're going to charge you 10%. So, well, you want to go to 20? We're going to charge you 20. So don't get cute. Why don't we both go to zero? How about that? So that conversation will probably come up in about 4 or 5 months when these politicians wake the hell up and say, and Trump said it on air yesterday. He said, it goes up, it goes down. If you go to zero, we'll be at zero. And that's our effort. If we can get a fair playing field, with all these countries, we'll do it. Some of these countries are depending on it, to finance their government. So we know your tricks. You're assessing payment with our goods that we're shipping your public. So when they shop for merchandise made in the United States, you're charging us 10%. Brazil, go to zero and we'll go to zero. You go to 1%, we'll go to 1%. If you want something because you need the money in your government, that's what happens. But you don't have. In our case, in the early 1900s, there was no income tax, and our government literally survived on the tariffs they were collecting 125 years ago. Yes, sir. You can look it up. I did. What was it like in 1900? No income tax. That didn't come until 15 years later. They said, oh yeah, why don't we charge everybody 2%? So they had like an income tax, and then he came up with the idea of taking it out of paychecks, and he had, another idea, you just file your tax return and pay the 2% on your effective gross income. They keep... Anyway, that's what this tax return business is all about. Matter of fact, I just put it in my notes. I made a calendar appointment with myself. That's how I keep track of what I have to do next, because, I don't have a yellow pad. Yellow pad. I don't have a yellow pad. I don't think I have one. I have white paper that I put in the printer, so I can open up the printer drawer and grab a sheet of paper there, or go find where the Rima paper is. My printer, I got two brother printers. One is it can fax, it can copy, color copy, by the way, 4-color copy, beautiful color copy. So if you print a letter and you have something in red or green or blue or whatever, or a logo, it prints in color beautifully. It's like you had it done with a printer, literally a printer, if you want to Kinko's or whatever. So I have two printers. They each have a 250-page tray, which can be letter or legal, not at the same time. If you choose legal, then you extend, there's a little clip in the back, and you push it back. and then you put the legal paper in. That's what I should do. I should have legal in one and letter in the other. Good idea, Jimmy. Next time I'm out with the car, I'll stop by, someplace and get some 20-pound stock legal paper, and I'll put it in the printer over there on that side. And I'll keep letter paper on this printer. They're all air print, so with my MacBooks, see, I'll show you. So there's a little arrow down here you can see on the lower left. It's a box with an arrow up, on the very bottom, and go all the way over below all those little pictures, thumbnails, and press that. It says touch screen. You don't have to mouse, you can just touch. I know the iPad with this keyboard, with this they call it a magic keyboard, is, I've got the new iPad Pro 13-inch iPad. You see, it's really thin. Look at this. I'll turn it. Look how thin it is. I mean, it's like 4 millimeters thick. It almost can't be any thinner and have some structural rigidity, so you don't twist it and break the screen. But they carve out the manufacturing process, that Apple employs is really quite amazing. I mean, it's a masterclass, beautiful piece of equipment. And when it's with this keyboard, the keyboard is lit. See, it's lit. I can change I'm trying to see where you change there. Well, I guess they're tied together. Yeah. So anyway, you can see all the keys are lit up. So if you're in a studio environment, which I happen to be, where the lights are dimmed down because you just want the attention, on not on me particularly, because I'm kind of out of the picture because of the way this is set up. I really there's no room for Jimmy. So I have the camera over here on the side, kind of like what Rush Limbaugh did. He didn't have a camera going straight into his face. No, you just saw, the left side of his head. Well, you only, I got the setup so you only see now if I go full screen, studio, would you go full screen on Jimmy? There you go. See, you can see me there. Matter of fact, this camera needs to be adjusted a little. There we go. So you can see the time up in the corner. There we go. Yeah, you got to change the angle, the dangle. There we go. So at the top edge of this right here is square against the top edge of the camera. There we go. I'll move that over a little bit so the time is in the corner. And then you can, you can push that in, and then you can see a little bit of Jimmy. There you go. But if I add this right here, because we're looking at this list of tariffs, and of course now I got to change cameras again. Would you swap cameras, please? Okay, there we go. Because I like to be on the right side of things. It makes me nervous even when I have my cameras set up on the wrong side. I'm just kidding. All right. So you can see these tariffs. So there was talk, over the last week that Trump was going to have reciprocal tariffs, period. If India charges us 52% on average for all their goods and things that, including currency manipulation and trade barriers, you see right here, tariffs charged to the U.S. including currency manipulation and trade barriers. Okay, if you're real sharp in economics, some of these countries, instead of just putting a tariff on there, they alter the exchange ratio between their currency and our currency. Aha! Yes, sneaky. So that's what's. Not all these countries do that, but some do, and we caught them. Our economists are. We've got the best people. That money can buy. These cabinet members, they probably make, a couple hundred. Their salary's probably $200,000. I actually don't know, but I know that's like an L17 or LG17. I forget. It's an L. Or they tried to hire me in 19. Let's see, when was that? Like 1985, right around in there. 1987, 1988. I went back to Boca Raton in 1990. Okay, so it's 1989. Now that I concentrate on it a little bit. This music sounds different. If you don't mind, I want to go back to... why did I get off of Epidemic? What happened to There we go. I don't know what happened to Epidemic. So we got it back again. I must have, touched something I shouldn't have touched. Russian hands and Roman fingers. So this reciprocal, I was talking about these tariffs, and it includes currency manipulation. So, we caught a couple of countries that actually changed the exchange ratio of their currency to ours, and made our currency less valuable as it compares to theirs. So instead of $1 equals $1, you give me $1 and then you give me €1. There was a time where they were identical, and it goes up and down depending on each country's economy, the economy of the planet. There's all kinds of things that drive, the currency exchange rate. But that can be manipulated. That can be set, So there were a few countries that actually altered the exchange ratio between the dollar and their currency. It was a dinar or, whatever their currency is called. So that is calculated in this trade tariff charges, because we know what you're doing with your currency, and we're going to build that into this tariff. The middle column there. That is tariffs charged to the USA for stuff that we send to their country. They're assessing this tariff. Vietnam is 90%. So if you want to buy something that is made by Vietnam, it's marked up 90% from, the charge, the PAR charge, PAR, the base value of the item, put it that way. In which case the tariff would be 0. So the par value for that item in Vietnam is the same value here, because there's no tariff. So if a $100 item is made in Vietnam, and we import that here. It's $100, but because of the tariffs, if we make something that's worth $100, some item, some sweaters, coats, jackets, shoes, whatever, devices, tools, machinery, motors. So when we, manufacture stuff and send it to Vietnam, they mark it up 90%. There's a 90% tariff that we got to pay. Well, if you charge us 90%, we're going to charge you 46%. There'll be a 46% tariff on everything that you send here. And you will pay. We'll set it up. We're going to set it up. We have due to and due from, every country, every one of the countries on this list, and this list. Here's the Peru list. Here's, it doesn't mean that. Here's a list where the top person is China. And here's a list where the top person is Peru. That doesn't mean it's the top tariff. It just happens to be in the top of the list. And I don't know what the sequence is. They should be sorted alphabetically or something. I don't get what the why these people are on the second list and why these people are on the first list. I don't get it. I guess it has something to do with what tariff we're going to charge. So, but they're not in exact numerical order. They're not in numerical order, period. Because it goes 32, 22, 26, 25, 36. So it goes up and down, as you go down the list. The bottom of the list is a 10% item. Top of the list is a 34% item, our tariff. All these, are lower tariff countries except for, what is that? Madagascar is charging us, their tariff charges 93%. Burma is charging us 88%. So we're going to charge them 47%. We're actually dividing it by 2. 88, half of 88 is 44. It's not rocket science here. Except when you get to 10, if you're a 10, then 10's what it is. There's no discount when you get to 10%. So it's like a courtesy discount. Look at Jordan up there in the list, fifth from the top. Jordan, it's got a blue border there. It's just below Costa Rica and just above Dominican Republic. Jordan, 40% tariff. We're going to charge them 20 on everything that they send here. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to do. That is what we're going to do. You don't like it? Tough titties. That's what it is. You don't like it, then change it to 0. Change your tariff to 0, and we'll go to 0. Yeah. You eliminate the tariff goes away on both sides. That is the plan. And sooner or later, you're going to wake up to the plan. If there are violations, if you try to have some kind of retribution against us, we're going to equalize the tariff. So, like if Jordan gets cute, it just happens to be where my eye looked. Or Argentina, no. They're at 10%. Everything we send through to Argentina, Ecuador, and Guatemala, and Honduras, look at that. 10, 10, 12, 10, 10, 10, So that little package there is like 10 to 12%, somewhere in there. So we're going to charge them 10 all the way across the board. Everything's 10. Everything you send in to us, we're going to assess a 10% tariff. That's how that works, I believe. Yep. First column is the tariffs charged to the USA for everything that comes in. In the case of Madagascar, it's 93%. Honduras, 10%. We're now going to have a 10% on everything that is made in Honduras that has been imported into our country. And that third column says on the top there, USA discounted reciprocal tariff. It is. So they're charging us 36%. We're going to charge you, this is Nicaragua. They're charging us 60, I'm sorry, a little dyslexia. They're charging us 36%. We're going to charge them 86. Gosh darn it, 18%. Half of 36 is 18. Norway is charging us everything imported into their country. They're assessing a 30% tariff. So that's what we got to pay. We got to pay, and so how's that payment actually done? That's a charge, I guess. Remember I told you remember I mentioned that every country has a U.S. trade account, established. It's like a checking account. It could be interest-bearing or non-interest-bearing. I believe it's non-interest-bearing. So there's, if there is interest, it'd be like a 0.5%, because that's their checkbook, so to speak. So they're due to and due from. It's a due to and due from account. So if they, we as these containers are offloaded the ships, if Norway, and I happen to know that Norway manufactures a lot of medical stuff, like insulin and insulin devices, pens, that you then can buy with prescriptions. You can buy the pen without a prescription. With an empty cylinder, with no chemistry in the pen. It has a space. You open up the pen and you twist off a certain part of it, and you can insert a cartridge. All right, and it would normally be insulin, but there are different strengths of insulins. I've got the lowest tranche when I was taking insulin, and I gave myself a shot a half hour before every meal. I did that for a couple of years, and I said, you know what, Doc, let's try this Ozempic thing for controlling, your blood sugar levels and all that. So, in the wisdom of Dr. Thomas Lubin, M.D., he said, "Okay, let's give it a try. Let's see how you do with." And I do well. It's a magical, wonderful, injection that you self-inject. They call it subcutaneous injection. I do it. I do it every Saturday morning at about 9, 10, 11, whenever it's convenient. Let's just say 9 o'clock on Saturday morning. I stick myself with this pen. The needle is so thin you don't feel it. I swear to the holy the holiness. I swear to God Almighty, when I stick that thing inside, now it is a little weird, you know, because you have this thing it's like almost like a Sharpie, you know, the Sharpie pen, which is a little bigger in diameter than this. I don't think I have one here. Let's see if I have one over here. Nope, oops. Boing. Sorry about that. I have a pewter mug over here that's got, you know, a couple of pens. It has a pair of scissors that I use, but it's over top the studio stuff. Can't have everything in here. It gets too busy. There's not room for. That's it. You know, I've got 6 feet by 2 feet. It has to house everything, and it houses everything just right. I have this little semicircle of equipment. I got my soundboard over here. I got my MacBook Pro here with an iPad in front of it. I have a MacBook Pro over here. See that hour and 2 minutes we've been yakking away here. And then I have a MacBook Pro up here. And this is a 11 inch, and this is a 11 inch, and this is a 12.9 inch. They're all, you know, older ones. I use this one as a TV screen. I'm showing the weather right now. And this one is a MacBook Pro that's sitting on a stand, you know, so it's upright. And I have a clock that's showing the elapsed time that we've been talking here, so you can see that in this double view where we're showing our tariffs. I have to shrink that down a little bit so you can see it. There you go. And I have my lighting. You see here, I can adjust it bright and not so bright, just so I can see the you know, the screen and the lighting of the keys here. It's very easy to see what you're typing, other than the fact I have this microphone in my face. So I pay attention to what's up here because that's what you're seeing. So I want to see, you know, I know it's here. Whoops. But if I look at it, my microphone's in the way. So I look at it up there. You know, because that way I can see. So if I go this, you know, I can see it on my iPad, but you can't see it in that view. So I have to shrink it down a little bit so it fits the window that you see. And I can go up and down the list that way. And we both see the same thing, and there's nothing truncated. I think that's the proper word. So Morocco, they're down there at 10%. So you're charging us 10% for exports that are arriving at your dock. We're going to charge you 10% for everything that you import, that you export into the United States. Heretofore it was 0. Well, it's 10% now, baby. Now, if you want it to be 0, then you have to drop your thing to 0. But right now, we're both going to be charging ourselves 10%. So that's not exactly equal, even though the number is equal, because we may be exporting a whole lot more stuff than we're buying from your country, manufactured in your country. So the dollar amount may not be equal, but whatever comes in to this country from Morocco, we're being assessed a 10% tariff. So we're going to do the same thing to you guys. You know, all those countries that are charging us 10% here and there: Guatemala, Honduras, Madagascar, Honduras, Guatemala, Ecuador, Argentina, New Zealand, United Emirates, and the Dominican Republic. You go down that whole little tranche of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 countries, you know, they range from 10% to 12%. Oh, New Zealand's at 20. So whatever New Zealand, when we manufacture stuff and New Zealand stores, you know, want to buy it and have it imported into New Zealand, the New Zealand government is assessing a 20% tariff charged to the USA. Yep. Well, we're going to take that. We're going to have it. So you're charging us 20. We're charging you now 10. It was 0, but it's now 10. So that money's coming into our government. And they track it, you know, because you have to declare, and it's subject to inspection. You know, when these exports and imports occur, and they get packaged up into cartons and boxes, and, you know, they're deliveries made with, you know, 18-wheelers and 14-wheelers and 12-wheelers, you know, with the cardboard boxes, and they get shipped onto a container. And that container, there's a declaration made with that container on what you got in there, because it's a steel container. It gets padlocked, and then the U.S. government also puts a seal on it, so you can't get in there and add boxes or take boxes out on this calculation of the tariff one way or the other, you know. So you got outgoing tariffs and you got incoming tariffs. So we don't want to mix them up. So you basically you have a separate container for the ins and the outs. But the middle column is the tariffs charged to the USA. Yeah, period. We've got $2 million worth of stuff, you know. We got millions of dollars worth of stuff that is going to Jordan, you know, through their government ports of entry, if you will. They're charging $400,000 tariff when we ship in there $1 million worth of stuff in a container. They say, there's, you know, X number of items. The tariff will be 20%. So stuff that we ship, that we manufacture and send to Jordan, they're charging us 40%. And there it is. You can see Jordan, 40%. Well, from now on, we're going to charge them 10%. So any stuff that they make that they're shipping into the U.S. ports, there's a 10% tariff. That's the yellow column. That is the USA discounted required tariff. Reciprocal sorry, it's the wrong R word. It is required, but it's also reciprocal. So you're charging us, we're going to charge you. Argentina, you're charging us 10, we're now going to charge you 10. We don't go to 5. Yeah. We don't do any halfies. Yeah, 10 is apparently the lowest tariff. It's worth collecting, you know. You know, you ship us meat, eggs, whatever. Everything that you manufacture, grow, you know, milk, whatever special milks, whether it's cow milk or this milk, that milk, whatever it is, that's what we're paying when we sell milk to you guys. I'm just saying, if anyone's buying milk, and vice versa, like Jordan. That's my tongue is really getting tied up here. Like Norway, they make, I don't know if medical device, I guess, if medical devices work, they're charging us 30% tariff on things that are made in Costa Rica. There's a one-way tariff of 30% on American manufacturers are assessed basically, a tariff is charged. What's going on? Oh yeah. So, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a two-part list. There's the China. The one at the top is China. It's not the topmost, reciprocal tariff. It's just, the first blue one with the blue and white chart thing that way. Here's both of them on the same. So you can go right down through them, both sides. Oops, you can't actually see both sides. Unless I shrink that down. Yeah, I don't think there's a way of shrinking it. The only way you can see that, all of it, is for me to go full screen on it. There you go. This is trimmed up a little bit better. I took away some of the sidewalls, so the aspect ratio of this page is the same as the aspect ratio of the iPad Pro. So everyone is walking around with clickers in the neighborhood. I'm not in that neighborhood anymore, but I can just imagine the people walking, the kids walking around with these remote control things and all these drones that are, dropping in the garage, and we shut the garage door, and then they don't survive that trip for some reason. I found the roads pretty calm in Boca Raton, just tooling around on my bicycle. I try to stay on. So this is what created the big news. I'm giving you time to look at this stuff. There you go, you can see that in full page mode. Going down that list, I don't see Canada, I don't see Russia. Those are two biggies. Maybe because, I don't know about Russia, but with Canada, maybe there's so much going on right now. They haven't had time to work out the deal, between the prime minister, the new prime minister that was just elected. He was also put in by All in favor? Yeah. And most of the hands went up for him. But it was not the kind of election you could count. So now they're doing the same election that we provided them, all these unit purchasers. All right, so this is creating. Let's see, it's 9:15. Ooh, let's go to this. Where if this has settled down any? I'm talking about the futures index, because that is. Hit my refresh button. It is refreshing. It's coming on. All right, where are we? Ooh, it's going down more. It's almost down 3%. Now that's, it's down 1,240 points on the opening. This is this is relatively serious sell-off in the United States markets. This is watched all over the planet. Traders all over the planet are having to deal with this sell-off. Because they're all worried about this. We had Trump did this tariff business, not to everybody, but he finally said, forget it. Even these countries that have, everybody, if they're going to charge us, we're charging them. It's as simple as that. So if you're using our merchandise, you're holding our merchandise hostage, to then, and you're charging us a tariff, we're going to charge you a tariff back. So he's equalizing the tariffs, going due to and due from. Now, they may buy more of our merchandise than we buy of their merchandise. In the case of Vietnam, apparently, they manufacture a lot of stuff that is coming into this country. And we are giving, if you're wondering how an account like that can be negative, you take interesting. All right, so 9:17 a.m. You can watch the trading. 40,973, 40,971, 40,964. I mean, it drives you nuts, but this is as of 9:18 and 12 seconds. So you can see, if I can reverse pinch it even more, you see the clock. It tells you real time, babe. This is real time stuff. There we go. I'm over here. You see right there. 2.99. We're getting as close to 3 as you can get. Oh, that just went to 3%, down more than 3%. So that is it goes up or down, 2 or 3, 400 points, But when it goes down 1,200 points, now you're talking about a relatively serious sell-off. That means probably everybody in the Dow is negative, some more than others. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average Futures Index right here. And it's showing it's down 2.9%, coming up in the closing in about 10 minutes. So that'll either jump further down or it'll recover. Because you got these traders that are going haywire here, just can't decide whether they want to be selling or buying. So that's what's happening with the stock market. Yep. That's on that computer. That's on that computer, which is essentially my countdown clock. We can add these iPads are computers, I'm going to switch cameras on this because they're actually on the other side of each other. There we go. Because the countdown, I can put 3 of us on there at the same time. Let's add Jimmy to the mix. All right, now let's swap cameras so we can get me in the middle. I think the next time I'm all the way over on the left, and the next time swap cameras again. I should be in the middle. There we are. I am in the middle. But you see, then you have to reverse pinch less because I don't have enough viewing area to get everything in there. And I actually have to hold this over with a finger, as you can see. I gotta hold it over because otherwise you can't see that. The 4 is missing. All right, let's just get me out of the picture. Or we don't need to see the down. We don't need to see. We don't need to see that. Whoops. So I guess we go to here and add me. Let's see what happens. There we go. I'm on the proper side. But we don't have to have this on here. I was just showing you. You got 9 minutes before trading begins, and it's down 3%. That's the bottom line on that. What's going on with that? What's going on with my replacement? All right, it's 6:23 a.m. My package is being processing at the UPS facility in Deerfield Beach. Well, they've been processing that sucker for 3 hours. At 10:30 they're going to load it on the truck and it's going to come for deliveries. And they estimate my delivery somewhere between 12:30 and 4:30. So it depends how many packages are out there today. That's the story there. If you wonder why I have that up there, because my coffee maker is going on the fritz. And for $100 you get another one. What are you going to do? I basically swap that thing out every 3 years. So for $150 item, let's just say it costs me $50 a year for the. So $50 a year, you divide that by, if it was 48, you divide that by 12. What is your? So it costs me $4 a month for a, Cuisinart K-Cup coffee and tea maker. I run all of Maryland's tea through that, or most of it. I've got a few other ways of making tea, but I can put 2 scoops and a real fine strainer. They have come up with a really, really fine stainless steel strainer that's in this little plastic packaging where you can scoop in like 3 scoops of tea. In this cartridge, you close it up and put it. You pull the K-Cup coffee receptacle. You pull that whole thing out, and then you can put in this tea thing where you can have scoops of coffee, or if you find ground coffee, where you tasted some when you were going through a little shopping center in Milwaukee, and all of a sudden this guy actually heats up, and the coffee beans. They have a rotating oven. It's up around 100 and maybe a 220 degree temperature, and they roast the coffee beans. That's how they do it. And then after they roast it, then they turn down the temperature to cool it back down. It's like a big drying machine, without the machine part. There's no cover, so that way you can see everything. And but it's good. It's heated with gas with either flame or a electric burner underneath, curved underneath the bottom side of this copper metallic chamber that rotates. Almost looks like a what do you call it, a concrete truck, that rotating thing. That's of course big because it holds 9 cubic yards of cement that's being mixed and transported from the rock quarry. They're getting this rock and they add cement to it and mix it up, and that becomes concrete. Cement is a component of concrete. Concrete is the resultant mixture of, an aggregate like rocks, small rocks, no bigger than the size of a quarter, let's say, in diameter. And then you could have another aggregate that's even smaller, like pebbles. And then you mix that with sand that comes out of the quarry. Someone's calling my iPad, which is also ringing on my watch. I had the phone off because it keeps wanting to interfere with my Ecamm Live thing. Where's my arrow? It's on. I have to close up this. There we go. If I go down on the arrow too much, the arrow ends up on my iPad. So Ecamm Live, I'm looking at the camera sources here. Yeah, see, and my iPhone is not in the list. I've got 2 iPads. The Nexigo Nexigo HD web camera, that's right there. I could be touching the lens, but I'm not going to. Right there, you can see my fingernail. Man, so that's sweeping down the views this way, yeah. And there's no, on this list, you can't see this list, but this is like a control window. And there's no iPhone in there because I have it off. Sitting here on this magnetic mount with no energy. If I put it on there and it had power in it, then it would start the phone up. Yeah. If I want to start the phone, I would just plug in a USB-C source in the bottom, and that'll start it. Or hold the side button for a couple of 20 seconds or so. Anyway, I got a whole menu system. It seems complicated when you look at the whole ball of wax at one time. But if you just take it piece by piece, and so it always looks more complicated when you look at a finished something or other. I mean, just think of how complicated it is for Elon Musk and his people to create a factory that's manufacturing, electric cars. If you go through a factory tour there, you're going to be pleasantly surprised, because it is it's a thing to see. So you can find it. You can find it. Use your favorite search engine. Doesn't have to be Google. There are a lot of different search engines. ChatGPT has a search engine of some sort. And you can type right into ChatGPT. And they have search ChatGPT 4. 4 came out like last year, and now it's been updated, and it's a full 4 instead of mostly full. They've trimmed it up, so even the youngest of people, the most inexperienced people, regardless of chronological age, can get a hang of it if they want to. It's all a matter of desire, if you will. Anyway, so on this page you can see there's some small icons in the upper left corner. UPS, fax. This home guy is the one that controls. Let's hit that one. That tells me what my thermostat reading is. Okay, it's set at. Uh-oh. I have something wrong with my air conditioner, because in the living room it says 75 degrees. That's supposed to say 71. And you see that's blue, so the air conditioner is working, but the compressor is not. I think I have a moisture issue inside my unit. About every 5 months they gotta come and suck out, algae or excessive dust or something that gets in, the pipes where that drains the water. Because in a unit, in a condominium unit or a house or whatever, when you run your air conditioner, it pulls moisture out of the air. So the relative humidity inside here should be 50%, and it's 66%. See, so there's no humidity being pulled out of the air. So the relative humidity is 66%. I can see it right on this temperature device I have here. So on the right side, you can see I'm pointing at it. See, it says 70 degrees, 70.2, that's usually 68. So it's a little cooler in here than it is in the living room, because that's showing 75 degrees. If I go down the list, let's see. There we go. So you can see it's cooling, that's why it's blue. You can see the temperature is actually 75. I have it set at 71. So the compressor is not on. It has an automatic shutoff to the compressor part. I have the fan on all the time. In other words, the fan is a continuous. I have it set on continuous. So there's air constantly circulating in the residential apartment units that we live in for 13 years. And I can see that the temperature inside my refrigerator, if you look at the bottom, you can see that we can't see the caption. Let's go full screen on the my home app. So there you can see the different rooms. Living room, C is master bedroom, so it's 73 degrees in the master bedroom. It's 75 in the living room itself, because sun goes in there in the morning. I'm deeper into the living room in a den, so the sun doesn't get to me. Guest room, item D. I have the thermostat, the thermometer device in the guest. I have it in the credenza, enclosed in the credenza. So the temperature change there will be more gradual, because the credenza is still at 70, hasn't warmed up to the 73 degrees that it probably should be, because the air conditioning unit is not working. The fan is, but the air conditioning not. I'll have to put a ticket in downstairs. Guest room is 70. The freezer is -7 degrees. I put one of those those thermometer things that connects, that sends the signal sends a signal to my master thermostat, a Nest thermostat. So I have 2 extra thermometer sensors, if you will. It measures temperature, and then Bluetooth, it sends it to my Nest central thermostat. So I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different locations. I can see the living room, the master bedroom, the guest bedroom, the freezer, and the refrigerator. That's pretty cool, huh? You put it in the freezer and refrigerator, and you can, if someone didn't close the freezer all the way and that went up to, 10 degrees, then someone probably didn't close the freezer door all the way, or something got in the way of it closing. Like something slipped out of one of the shelving units. Same thing with the refrigerator. 43, that's a little higher than, I like it, more like 40. So it's a little warmer than usual, maybe because the ambient temperature is up 5 degrees, because it's 75 instead of 71. So, I don't know. I'm going to check the setting on that refrigerator, make sure it's at its coldest setting. I don't think it's at its coldest setting, because I can get it down to like 37 degrees, and that's too cold, because then things start to freeze. Like if you have fruit or whatever, all of a sudden it gets a slight frost on it, and then it like spoils if you don't eat it like immediately. Like cut watermelon, if that's too cold in there, yeah. So market has opened. Let's get off this thermostat thing, which I have to take care of, and let's see what the market's doing. So now it wouldn't be futures. I'll have to figure out where to. Let's hit major indices. So the Dow Jones, I'll just touch that. There we go. So apparently this is, as of 9:36:35, the real time 41,066. It's fixed. It's not changing. Maybe it only changes every minute or something. This is not actually a trading desk. You have to pay a fee for that. So with the futures index before trading, they give that, I don't have to pay for that. But Dow Jones, if you want a trading desk, a level 2 trader, you're not a dealer for other people, but you're a trader on your own account. I think that's called an L2, which I have. I have the L2 credentials, but I don't. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in doing anything with the stock market. It's. I had a fairly good idea that the market was going to do this. I had bit currency, Bitcoin stuff. Sold it all about 2 weeks ago. I said, I'm out of here, because when the market goes BIPSIC, the Bitcoin is going to go BIPSIC. And I wonder if I can type Bitcoin in here and see what happens. BITCOIN. What happened to it? BITCOIN. enter, what happens? Let's touch that one. Yeah, see, Bitcoin is down $2,700. It's down to 82.61. So it's down 3% today. And it was, down 2%. I mean, it's down from 100,000 down to 82,000. So that's, it's gone down 20 or 30%. Anyway, I sold Bitcoin, and I had 2 other coins. I had three varieties. I never took possession of it. It's in a trading account. Sold it all. Put the money back in my checkbook. There's a, just so you know, let me go. There's a thing called, I have an app. So if you have any interest in trading, let me turn on this phone. I got the blue logo, or the white. You guys see the white apple? It's amazing. These Apple devices. You turn them on. It's a very sophisticated. The iPhone is a very, very sophisticated computer with high capacity. It's. You think about it as being a phone. Whoops. But it's so much more than a phone. It's more of everything else, actually. It takes phone calls, but with the text messaging, all the messaging you can do. All right, let's see. That's what I was looking for. You can go onto the App Store, which of course I can do that on this page. And I'm going to hit the search button, and then I'm going to type in there, come on, Coinbase. Coinbase. And I'm going to touch Coinbase. Come on. BASE is Coinbase. It's over here. It's this one. I'm going to go full screen so you can see it all. So if you have any interest in, putting $1,000, some small amount of money into some kind of a, you don't have to pay the, Bitcoin is a particular coin. It's and these coins, they have no asset value, so to speak. It's not like buying a piece of real estate where you have the value. You paid X for it, and the value has gone up a little bit, but it goes up and down, but you have the intrinsic value of the house or the car, or when you buy, let's say IBM stock, you own a little piece of the IBM company, and the IBM company has a value. Even if it goes out of business, it has a value because they can sell off all the equipment that they have left, and their real estate that they have, and the factories, to make stuff. So there is a wholesale value to a company, even if it doesn't operate. Like gold, for example. Now, gold has a value. It's a precious metal. It ain't going to go to zero. I don't think so. You have gold chains, you have gold bars, So when you deal in precious metals, and I have gold and silver, I have some silver coins. I've taken possession of a few silver coins, just so and I had some gold coins too, but I've since sold the gold coins. Made a profit. I mean, gold is, crowding, probably $3,000 an ounce. Over the last couple of years, gold has almost doubled in price. I told everybody I know, buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. It was trading at $1,500, $1,600, $1,700, $1,800 an ounce. I said, please, buy gold. Buy gold. It's a precious metal. It's just like cash. You can sell it very easily. And you can buy, it's easy to buy gold coins. There's a different app you do to buy precious metals. This is the Coinbase business. You can link this to your checkbook. If you have a checking account, a special one, not your kitchen table check account. Let's say you have another checking account, which you sweep money in and out of periodically, from apps like this. So let's say you want to put $1,000 in Bitcoin, in Coinbase, in this company called. See, I can open it because I have Coinbase. I sold it all. I got like $5 left in it or something. I had 3 or 4 different coins. So this is my actual account at Coinbase. It's not that dramatic. It's a skinny display, and I don't think you can reverse pinch it. Yeah, so might as well put myself over here in the side pocket. So you can see I have 6 cents in there. I had Bitcoin. I had several others. I had Dogecoin, and I had, let's see if Doge is, here's crypto. Yeah, see, there's Dogecoin. That's what I have left, 6 cents worth of that. And I have no cash. So, I have that linked. If I wanted to, see, there's James Wilson. There he is. Explore assets. Cash, I can earn up to 4.1%. So they're giving you an incentive to put keep cash with them. But apparently, several news agencies and so forth have mentioned that this is, Coinbase is a good one. See, if you want to deposit cash, I can press that button right there, and I can say $100. Now I want to transfer that from my checking account. See, I have 1, 2, 3. There's 4 different ways of sending money to Bitcoin. I have a $5,000 limit. I think when I started, it was a $3,000 limit. Now it's 5. I don't know what I did to earn that. But that's I can put up to $5,000 a day from my SunTrust account, which I'm not going to do, or those other accounts you saw there. So, and you can transfer money back and forth. You can sell your Bitcoin assets and put it back in your checkbook. You can be a trader in it. I wouldn't call myself a trader. I buy something and then it stays there for 6 months or so. and then I either keep it, sell it, or buy more of it, or But Coinbase is a good one. That's why I brought it up. I just hit the home button, and you can see my my 6 cents that I have in Dogecoin is, and if I hit the 1 month mark, you can see how it's traded up and down. It's at one point it was up. See, if you touch the graph, it was up to 7 cents a coin. See, now it's at 6 cents a coin. So when you go from, there's 8 cents a coin. So if you bought it at 8 and now it's at 6, you've lost, 25% of its value. So, you don't want to do that. You want the other way. You want to buy it when it's down here. What was it here? Can I go all the way over there? Yeah. It went down to that bottom part. It went down to 5.8 cents. So if you bought it at 5 and it goes up to 8, whether it's 500, 800, 5 cents, 8 cents. I have 6 cents. I'm a big trader. I hit crypto, and there it is, Dogecoin. I sold everything else down to 0. But Dogecoin, there's 6 cents left in that one. I don't know if I could transfer that out. It's probably too small. What that is. That's my balance, yeah. Current price. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. So Dogecoin right now, the current price is 16 cents. It was up, I was up in the 17s, let's see, how long ago? This is, give me a, let's hit the month mark. Anyway, so at 6 cents, I have, like a third of a coin. If it's trading right now at 16 cents a coin, and my value is 6 cents, 6 over 16, 8 over 16 is half, so I got 40% of a coin, So nothing to get excited about. So I just wanted to show you I have the app. I'm just going to X out of it. I'm going to go up like that and just sweep it up. I've now closed the app. But anyway, Coin, if you have any interest in playing around with small amounts of money, you can have any kind. If you're an experienced owner of Bitcoin. Now, remember, Bitcoin is a coin that first came out a long time ago, 10 or 15 years ago. And they use the term Bitcoin as like an industry. It's like, Xerox is a machine, but let's look at all the Xerox products out there, all the copy products. Oh, sweetie, would you make a Xerox of that for me? Even though you have a Brother copy machine. So that's the same thing with Bitcoin. It is not only an item, a particular coin. It also is used, as the name of everything that's in the Bitcoin industry, if you will. Well, in that Bitcoin industry, there is an app that you can buy that works with Apple products. I have it displayed here, on my iPad, as you can see over here. But you see here, it's on this iPad. I just have it also. This is called Camera 3. Instead of having a camera connected into Ecamm Live, I've connected my iPad, and it took it. It was, it wasn't a suggestion by the company. I just plugged it in. So let's see what happens. So I plugged in my iPad to one of the the ports, and if I go to camera up here, it lists my iPads as a potential, and my iPhone over there, by the way. There's a message on here, do you want to connect? And you can see my iPhone right there. Oh, you can't, I'm sorry. You can't see these menus. Anyway, my iPhone is listed on one of the available cameras because there's a camera in the iPhone. And it says, do you want to connect? And I said, no, let's pause it. So, but I could select it, and then then the iPhone camera would be activated, and you'd see what the iPhone sees, which is really quite amazing. Anyway, so I tried just connecting my iPad up to my MacBook, and Ecamm Live says, hey, we can use that. We can use the video information off your iPad. So there you go. You can actually see what I'm seeing on my if I go to full screen mode, there you go. But you were missing this very left one and the very right one, because this has a, let's see what happens if I turn this way. See, then it would fit, but it's in portrait mode because, oops, it fits on my Magic Keyboard, and that can close down, and I could walk off with it. I'd have to unplug it, but there we go. There's, see. So you can see, I'm going to take this and I'm going to rotate it, and then it goes to portrait mode, and you can almost see everything that I can see. Well, you can see everything I can see. It's a perfect fit, and you can see reviews. This is the Coinbase doodad. It's over 4 years old. What's new? See, 2 days ago, I clicked that. Coinbase is the easiest and most trusted place to buy, sell, manage your digital currency. That's the vernacular that you would use. I was hunting for the words. Your digital currency. Yeah. So Bitcoin is a digital currency, but there are other digital currencies other than Bitcoin itself. But people use the term Bitcoin like they do. Let's look at all Xerox copy machines. What kind of Xeroxes you got here? Well, I got Xerox. No. Anyway, so there are other Bitcoins. There's the Dogecoin. Yeah, remember that? Elon Musk was playing around with Dogecoin at one point, a long time, a year or so ago. It was almost like a parody. It was, it wasn't really. This is not to me, this is not a place to invest. This is a place to use digital currency, to buy and sell things. There was a point, maybe even today, where you could use your digital currency, like Bitcoins, to buy a Tesla car, for example. I think he accepted Bitcoin, the actual Bitcoin. Now, you don't have to own a whole one. You can buy 1/100% of the Bitcoin itself. You don't have to buy one. It's $82,000 a coin, right? Well, you don't have to buy a whole one. You can buy a little tiny piece of one. That's all handled through Coinbase. You know, it's like when you buy stock, you don't have to buy a 100-share block. You can buy one share. Well, with the digital currency, you can buy whatever dollar amount you want. You can buy $50 worth of Bitcoin itself. You may own 0.0001% of it. Yeah. You know, if it's 82,000, you could buy 1,000th of it. You know. Anyway, Coinbase is a nice place where you could start playing around with digital currency. That's the word they use there. Anyway, so apparently 2 days ago, version 13.11.11, Coinbase, this update includes bug fixes and performance improvements. So they tweaked it a little bit, you know, and you know, a nice thing to do is, you know, hit this portion of the, see, back. What's new? I'm hitting that little, you can't see it, and I can't shrink it. Anyway, there's a little caret right there, right below the word open. You go all the way down below, and what's new? I'm hitting that caret. Now this is all the dialogue that's in the app, you know, where you go to buy apps, the App Store. And you can see 3.11.11. Coinbase is easier to, and the update includes, hit more, bug fixes and performance improvements. That was 2 days ago. Well, a week ago, what happened? This update includes bug fixes and performance improvement. So they keep tweaking it. All these has the same exact message. But the nice thing about it is, you know, it's every week. This is a month ago, you know, so you can go back 5 months ago. What's good about it is that every week or so they're tweaking it somehow to make it easier to use. You know, make the graphics better, make it compliant so that it works with, you know, the new iPhones, the older iPhones. You know, iPhones, periodically iPhone comes up with a new operating system, you know, a new number. You know, they're on, you know, version 16, right? Well, every time iPhone comes up with a new software update for their operating system, these application people, the people that make the software, so, you know, if I push open, that'll open the, you know, the Coinbase app that I have in my inventory of apps on my iPad. There's the App Store. You can see it up, App Store there, yeah. We'll get rid of that. So somewhere there's an icon here that looks like the Coinbase. It's a big C. Oh, there it is, right up on the very top. Right next to Facts. Just to the left of Facts, you can see the blue icon with a big round C. I press that and I go right to this. This is my big balance of 6 cents. Yeah, I own a little tiny bit of Dogecoin. I had a couple $1,000 in there, you know, so I made $300. Big deal. But yeah, there are some companies, particularly international firms, like if you want to buy a special, or you want to buy, you know, like an old, like an antique of some sort. I'm making up a story. And you found something online, and it was in England. And, so instead of trying to buy it with dollars, which then you have a currency exchange with with shillings and dollars and all that stuff. Pounds. Their currency is called a pound. Ours is called a dollar. U.S. dollar is kind of like an international currency, all right? And instead of trying to figure out, a currency exchange, which you can do, you could actually buy something with digital currency. Thank you for that vocabulary words. Yeah. So if you own a Bitcoin or a Dogecoin or the different coins that are available, some companies will use Bitcoin, for example. You can have, you don't have to you don't have to own an $82,000, coin, stock certificate, coin, whatever you want. I don't want to interchange the two because, Bitcoin, there's no underlying asset. It's worth something because you have more buyers than sellers. There's a limited number of these Bitcoins that were issued when they first started it. And people started buying it, and it was, it was $200 a coin, $300 a coin. Then it went to, I remember seeing it. There was a person in my building here, Paul Berkowitz, and he owned a hairdressing place, a beauty salon, I guess you call it. And one of his hairstylists was buying Bitcoin like crazy, when it was in the $200 and $300 range. So if he bought that $200-300, he had like $5,000 or $10,000 invested at $200 a coin. And he told me, he said, this kid's making a fortune in this Bitcoin stuff. Well, if he still had that at $200 a coin, and he had 5 or 6 coins, well, he's got a $500,000 portfolio now, assuming he kept it. But if he saw this big profit and sold it, so he made a big profit. If he didn't sell it, he's got an even bigger profit, because if he paid $200-300 a coin and it's worth $82,000 a coin, and he had it in Coinbase, for example, he could turn that into dollars and put it in his checkbook very easily. There are a lot of millionaires today because they bought this Bitcoin stuff back 4 or 5 years ago, and it is multiplied by 10,000. That's quite, it's a herd mentality, But there's no asset value to a Bitcoin, to the Bitcoin. I'm not talking about the digital currency. I'm talking about the actual Bitcoin itself. That's trading now at 82,000, a little bit around 82,000 a coin. We just saw it, so. All right. I don't know about you. I don't know about you folks. Remember, this show is like, we're sitting around a coffee table, and I'm, someone asked me, what do you, I was walking through, this is kind of ridiculous because, believe me, I am not a celebrity of any shape or dimension. I'm just, I turned 80 years old last month. About that last month, because it's April 3rd. Yeah, last month I turned 80 on the first day of spring. My birthday is the first day of spring. My birthday is the same as Barron Trump. How about that? Oh boy, big deal, right? He turned 19, I turned 80 on March 20. Anyway, so I'm Marilyn and I are. This is kind of cute. I know a couple of people in town here. Not many. Several. I've been living here for since 1990. Yep. In 1990, Arthur Bellis, the chairman or the CEO of Boca Bank. He's a board member, I think. He had been chairman of the board at the time. I met him. A headhunter introduced me to him, in 1985. Making that up a little bit. 85, 86, 87, whatever, somewhere in that area. Anyway, so I had his business card because I met the guy, and he said, if I buy this bank, and he had a bank. It was called Boca Bank. And he was going to buy another bank in town. And it was slightly bigger than his bank in assets. Yeah. And so they were going to double their size, and they were going to merge their teams. And he said, but we're going to hire you as the senior lending officer because we need to upgrade our senior lending officer to a person of your talent. And I said, hey, marvelous. I was introduced to him, by Jim Lindgren, Lindgren, Lindgren. He owned a headhunting firm in Coral Gables. I was working in Coral Gables in the banking business at Royal Trust Bank. It's Royal Bank of Canada today. As the big fish eats the smaller fish. There are only like 4 or 5 banks in Canada. They all kind of merged up. We have like 2,000 banks in the United States. It used to be 5,000, 6,000 banks. But, big banks ate the little banks. And, the big fish eats the little fish. There are a couple of little fish floating around. But they're mostly big fish. But you actually have, like 1,700 banks in the United States. That number goes up and down as people decide to invest in a new bank and get a new bank charter. You got to have about somewhere between 10 and 20 million to start a new charter, at least in the state of Florida. I don't think they'll let you open a charter with less than $10 million. So it doesn't have to come from one person. It could come from 10 people that each wrote $1 million checks. They all put it into, Boca Bank to be LLC. In that account. I'm making it up. So you get 10 people with $1 million apiece. So now you got 10 million in the account. So the person is organizing all this. Phil Motter, for example. That's who organized the company that I joined. So he had an LLC, and he was collecting money, and he knew somebody that knew me, and he went to that somebody and he said, you need someone like Jim Wilson, boy. He's an outstanding senior lender. All you have to do is talk to this guy, and you can tell he understands the business, and he's not a smart ass. He's just very knowledgeable and very polite, gentlemanly, good senior executive person. Well, thank you very much. So this guy introduced me to Phil Motter, who is the president of a bank, and he left the presidency of that bank because it got bought by another bank. I mean, there's all kinds of buying and selling going on in the banking business here 25 years ago. So Phil Motter called me and said, let's have lunch. Somebody that you know, and he shot out the name, recommended that you and I talk. I'd like to tell you what I'm doing. And I've heard of Phil Motter. I didn't actually meet him, I don't think, until this but I knew all about what he was doing. He could walk into a restaurant and he knew everybody in the restaurant. He could run for mayor. He was very politically charged, although never a politician. He was always a banker, but he just knew everybody. I mean, the Chamber of Commerce, where they have these big meetings and so forth, he walks through there and he was shaking hands almost at every table as he's walking to his own table. No, he didn't know everybody at the table, but there was someone at a table of 8 that he knew. Because he'd go to all the Chamber of Commerce meetings every week or month. I forget what the period, I think it's every month. Chamber of Commerce has a big meeting somewhere. It's not always in Boca Raton. It's not always the same place. Anyway, so he and I got together, and he basically hired me. He gave me an offer and said, "How you want to do this?" And I said, "Okay, I'll join your." So I was employee number 2, and I found a bank to buy, and he was raising money. He raised about 70% of the money, and I raised about 30% of the money, because I just came to town, a couple of years ago. So this is 1993 or 4, somewhere in there. And he's almost born and raised here, so he knew everybody in town, and I knew half the number of people he knew, maybe a third. But when it came to being a lender in a bank, you don't have to have known the borrower, because you both went to the Chamber of Commerce together. You meet a lot of people as a lender that you've never heard of before. Probably 90% of your clients are people that you don't know, which is a good thing, because it's hard to... I'd rather not deal with friends, because I'm working for the bank, and I don't want to have to tell my friend, "Hey, I'm sorry, I don't think you're our cup of tea." So, you don't want to turn down your friend. You'd love to make good loans to friends. Now, I've made friends that were my clients, so that's like opposite, from what I'm talking about. So here, I made a loan to a complete stranger, got all the information I needed, and, sat around in a committee, and we said, this is the deal we should do, because we're basically funding this with our portfolio of depositors. That's the source of money for 80% of the loan. And the other 20% is the capital of the bank. I mean, that's about how it works, 80-20. 80% of every dollar that goes out in your loan portfolio is depositors' monies, and the 20% is the actual capital part of that. 10 people putting up $1 million apiece, that's the capital of the bank. So I mean, that's a lot of people don't understand that. So it's a very interesting business, because my raw material is money. And where does that come from? It comes from our depositors. That's why banks always want to increase the amount of deposits they have, because that's the raw material for making loans. That's how banks make money. They make money in loans because they have to pay the depositors, an interest rate. You buy a certificate, a CD for 2 or 3%, and you have a DDA account, which we have a money market that pays 1% or 0.5%, whatever, the price of the product is. So when people put the money in your bank, that's their asset, and it's our liability, as a banker. So what are our assets? Our assets are when we make loans. A loan is an asset. A deposit account is a liability. Now, the person that owns that deposit, that's their asset. So both sides of that can't be an asset. In other words, If they have a $100,000 CD, and then they write you a $100,000 check, and you give them a $100,000 CD, and you're going to pay them 1% interest for the next year. I'm making that up. Let's say 3%. Current terms. So I'm going to pay him 3% interest so that he puts the $100,000 in my bank. So at the end of the year, he can pull all the money out, and he pulls out $103,000. Okay, at 3%. Okay. Yep. But in that year that he has the money in our bank, then we can go lend that out. I can make two $50,000 loans, or two $40,000 loans, because the other 20% is the capital, the cash that we have in the bank. That's our earnings or our capital. Yeah. Anyway, so when that CD is issued by the bank to a depositor, in exchange for that CD, he writes you a $100,000 check, and you're going to pay him 3% interest annually, so that he parks his money with us. So that's his asset and our liability. Both, the bank and the client cannot both have assets. That $100,000 is, somebody owns that, and when he puts it in the bank, we don't own it. That's his money. Now, when we make a loan, that's our loan. Yeah. But the deposit is the person that wrote the check. That's their asset. Now that money is in the bank, right? And we make a $40,000 loan, then that's our asset. And the guy that borrowed the money, that's his liability. So it's always, you have two sides to that transaction. It's his liability and our asset. That's a loan. Deposit is the depositor's asset, and it's our liability because it's in our bank. That's how banks work. We borrow money at 3%, and we sell. We make loans at 7%. So we make a 4%. Banks run basically on 4% spread. 2.7% to 4.5%, 5%. Somewhere between 2.5% and 5%. That's that's the markup. So we borrow money at 3%. We're probably selling it as loans, at 5%. So the 2% is what we pay. The bank pays all its bills with, and if there's anything left over, that's a return. That's a profit. That's a gain that the bank can book every quarter, every year. Okay, that's enough with banking, right? Now it's 10:23. It's time to shut up. I can write a book about banking. I'm not going to, because there are too many books about banking, and I don't know if I'd add anything. I could give a speech about banking. That would be unique, because it would be my speech. But to actually write a book, I can go to the library, and there's so many beautiful books about banking that I don't think I'd be helpful. It's better that I just talk about banking to you guys. Now, I did write a book. I am a published author. I wrote a book about digital photography. Sure did. Published by Pearson Education in 2003, and a second edition in 2007. Pearson Education is the world's largest educational publisher, and they bought my book. Thank you, John Harlan, for introducing to me the acquisitions editor of Pearson Education. And that's how that works real quickly. I met with this lady who is the acquisitions editor. She flew in from Jacksonville to because we had a 10 o'clock meeting in John Harlan's office, and I think the third floor of Building 55 in the in the FAU campus. And I'm pretty sure it was on the third floor of Building 55. And I got to meet John Harlan by accident. He introduced me to the educational publisher, the acquisitions editor, Pearson Education. So I wrote this thing and did the artwork and had it broken down into 24 lessons. Harlan said, write some science in the front. So I put a couple of chapters of actual science about digital imaging, the sensor itself, and, how a digital picture, how it works when you push the button, what is actually going on inside that camera. So I took 2 chapters. I called the first chapter A squared. I swear to God. And the second chapter is B squared. So instead of chapter 1 and chapter 2, I had A squared and B squared. I used to teach math, but that's what I did. The first chapter is A squared. The second chapter is B squared. And then I have, chapter 1, 2, 3. I got 24 chapters after that. But in the first 2, like the preface with the science, is A squared and B squared. How much fun is that, huh? Anyway, so I was introduced to her, name unmentioned, because I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. It was a lady. I was 35 or so, something like that. She was probably my same age, maybe a couple of years older or younger. I don't remember. But she was, prime-aged young lady. And I was 35-year-old, happily married to Marilyn, who I'm still married to. How about that? 45 years worth. Wow. Basically, almost our entire adult life. Except for, maybe 8 years of adult life without each other, if you will. Yeah. Stunning person. I was lucky to get to know her. And when we got to know each other by accident, actually, that's another story for another day. Because that'll take me a half hour to say, and I'm already... You can see the elapsed time thing ticking off at 1/10 of a second. You see it going over there? You can't even say those numbers like that. See 4, 5, 6, 7. Those are seconds. Those are tenths of seconds. And those are minutes, and those are hours. Yeah. So I've been talking away here for 2 hours and 29 minutes and 18 seconds. That's enough. We've set it up for today. But we did, I'm not going to do a big summary thing here, but if I hit my but we did talk about this reciprocal tariff business. I'm going to say one final thing about it before I shut down, circling back to reciprocal tariffs. That's where we started today. And, Trump announced these yesterday. They're effective today. So... whatever you're charging us, we're going to charge you. But since we're nice guys, we're going to cut it in half. So South Korea makes a lot of stuff. My TV, my big screen TV, Samsung TV, guess what? It's made that's a South Korean domiciled company. And that TV is a marvelous 85-inch TV hung on the wall of our apartment in our living room, dining room thing, which is a big combined room, real big. 35 by 37. Big area. Nice wall that this TV is sitting on. Made in South Korea, Samsung. Someone told me about that, and I went to Costco and I looked. I think I actually bought the TV at Best Buy, but Costco had a real good display of all these TVs all lined up, and I looked at all of them, and they're all side by side, so you can really see the different screens and the different colors, the way and they're all on the same channel. So, it was easier for me to compare one TV to the next at Costco. Anyway, but I was shopping around, and I like the way that that Best Buy, had the people that installed the TV, delivered and installed. And they were techie people that installed the TVs. They weren't just, people that pick up a saw and all of a sudden they're a carpenter. These are actual tech people that got the TV working, and they showed you how to work it and all this stuff. So I bring it up only because Samsung is located in South Korea. They export to us a whole bunch of stuff. Samsung is one of them. They sell a lot of, phones, competitive phones, as does, India's, they charge us 52%. South Korea charges us 50%, and anything that gets exported to South Korea. Well, we said, okay, South Korea, everything that you ship to us to sell to our population, our 314 million people, we're charging you 25% tariff starting tomorrow. How about that? South Korea is a big one. Japan obviously is a big one. With Sony products, for example, Sony TVs, Sony cameras, all kinds of stuff from Japan. We try to sell their population our stuff, they charge us 46% when we try to export stuff to them. 46%. Hack, that's a big whack. That's almost like a 50% markup. Just for the tariff, the import tax. It's like a tax. Tariff, tax, one of those T words. Well, we're coming back at Japan saying, okay, the free ride is over. We're charging you 25%, 24% of everything you bring in here. Like all your cameras, all your Sony stuff, all that stuff that comes in here, we're charging you 24%, effective tomorrow, which was yesterday, so effective today. They say today is yesterday's tomorrow. Today is yesterday's tomorrow. That's true. So yesterday you refer to today as tomorrow. I mean, yeah. Anyway, the tariffs are effective today. So all your Sony stuff, all your Nikon cameras, they're all made in Japan. 24% tariff effective today. Canon cameras, That's a big, marvelous made in Japan stuff. All the lenses, oh my God. Jeez. It's huge. So we're nice guys. We're not going to charge you 46%. We're going to divide that in half. 24% for everything that you bring in here for our people to buy. That's half of what you're charging us. So if you get cute and you raise that from 46 to 50, then we're going to 50. Then we're going to have equal tariffs. We're giving you a 50% break. But if you retaliate and raise your tariffs, then whatever you're charging us, we're going to charge you. Right now, if you just settle down and let it be this way, then you're going to get a 50% break. Taiwan, same thing. We try to sell stuff to your people. You're charging us 64% tariff when our stuff goes into your country. So effective today, we're going to charge you 32%. Now, there's a lot of chips, a lot of all kinds of stuff that come into this country from Taiwan. Vietnam is 90%, so we're charging them 46%. It's usually, if you go down the list, it's about half. Except when it's 10. You're charging us 10, we're going to charge you 10. There's nothing less than 10 on both of these tables. I'm doing a reverse pinch. UAE, United Arab Emirates, is 10%. We're charging you 10%, effective today. Jordan, Dominican Republic, Argentina, Guatemala, they're all at 10%. Now we're going to charge you 10. You see the whole list here. We went through this a while ago. So if you're tuning in late, you can tune in earlier in this broadcast and you can hear me talking about all this. I'm just a fast wrap up here. Circling back to these two charts, which were put on the air yesterday at 5 p.m. We got them. We got them for you. I can lift up on this thing. And this was published at 5:12 p.m. Last evening. This is from the U.S. government at 5:12 p.m. This hit the market, hit the airwaves, print and electronic. So there's a lot of people are having a lot of debate. There he is. Look at Trump. He's answering questions from the field of people out in the Rose Garden yesterday. It was outside, and he's got that chart in hand because it was windy out there, and it was on an easel, but it kept on blowing off the easel. So he figured, screw it, I'm just going to hold it. So he's holding it, and he's got the first one. There's two of them. This is one of the top, and I don't know what the order. It probably has something to do with the volume of merchandise coming or going, but there's obviously a lot of stuff from Japan, South Korea, oh my God, Switzerland, all the watches and stuff that come out of Switzerland. I mean, you can just imagine, all of a sudden, 32% for every single watch you bring in here to sell our people. Bupkis. Anyway, so there he is. What a picture that is. Oh my God. He is fire inside. He says, no problem. So he mentioned it, and it's important to mention, and I have to mention it again in closing, is that if they're charging 50% and we're charging you back 25%, the retaliation should be like what Canada said. Hey, we're charging you 25%. Now you're going to charge us 12 or whatever. I'll take the tariffs down to zero. And why don't we go to zero both sides? Trump will sign that agreement today. So he and the prime minister, I guarantee it, trying to be a hayseed, I guarantee it that the senior officials of Canada and the senior officials of the United States are talking about eliminating tariffs on both sides. Because he said it, I saw him on TV twice yesterday. The new prime minister of Canada, it's not Trudeau, it's the new guy. He said, he's right there looking in the camera. He said, we're not going to have any of this tariff business. I'll go down to zero. And that's exactly what Trump wants to hear. He wants an even playing field between between all countries and the United States. No tariffs on either way. But some of these countries can't survive without some tariff because they're eating the tariff money. I mean, they're literally financing their governments. Back in 1900, going back in our history, 125 years ago in our country, we had no income tax. We ran our government with tariff money because everybody wanted to do business with this 280 million people that lived here in 1900, whatever the number was. And we charged them a tariff to sell their stuff in our country. I mean, that's essentially what's going on. So, you want to sell your Rolls Royces? I'm making this up. You want to sell your Rolls Royces in our country, there will be a 10% tariff. Call it an import tax. Call it whatever the hell you want to call it. It's called a tariff. It's one of those T words. That's what I would call it. This is how I used to, when I taught digital photography, I would have my conversations just like this. You got to be a little tiny bit entertaining or else people go to sleep. So this is not a place to sleep. Now, you don't have to talk a lot, but you're not taking a nap in my class. I guarantee it. Because if I see those eyes closed down, I'll come over and pound your desk and scare the shit out of you. I've done it. I have in my math class now, I'm entertaining even teaching math. And I taught high school math for a couple of years. And I'd walk around, I'd give them something to do. And I could see this one student is taking a nap. And I'd take my fist and go bam on his desk. Oh, shit. This kid would jump up like I say, are you taking a nap in my class, son? He said, no, sir, I was just having a little closed eye. Yeah, okay, well, open them eyes and do what you're supposed to be doing. It's written up there on the blackboard there. You can see you need to be doing that right now and not taking a nap. Because when you guys finish those 3 or 4 problems, we're going to go over it in class right now. So get with it. Yes, sir, he says. I bet he had a little pee in his pants when I banged on his desk. Oh, God. All the rest of the class said, are you really going to do that? I walk up there. I said, I'm going to pound on his desk, and it's going to wake him up, like suddenly. So, are you all ready? And the whole class is watching me. And I go, bam! And this poor little soul, he bounced up. He was a big kid, everybody's bigger than Jimmy. I'm only 5'8". He wasn't 6'4", but he was probably 5'10". Anyway, yes, sir. Look at this wild man right here. That Trumper is focusing in on somebody. Yes, sir. He's there are no toys in his attic, as they used to say. there's the former board member, chairman, founder of what do you call it? Home Depot. His first name is Bernie. I'll let you figure out his last name. He is 95 years old. He's like Trump is right now. He's got a fire in his belly, and there are no toys in his attic either. This 95-year-old guy. Now he couldn't run around the building 3 times because he's 95 years old. Now, he doesn't have a walker. They don't wheel him in a wheelchair. He gets up and he walks around. But he's not ready to jog around the track. He might do walking on, one of those things you can walk on, motor-driven. Anyway, yeah. So he'll exercise and so forth, but he's not going to. Okay, students like you to do 10 laps around the track. Now that's not going to be one of him. His age, including myself, I'm 80. He's 95, 80, 95. Whew. That's 15 years older. He's 15 years older than I am. And he's doing good. I'm alive inside upstairs, too. There are no toys in my attic yet at 80. Now, there's a lot of 80-year-olds that are, mumbling and stumbling a little bit. We had a president, Biden, that was, different people age differently, It's not all the same. My doctor said, you want to take some pills to keep your mind working well? I said, do you think my mind is not working well? Did I not count backwards by 7 fast enough for you? Oh, God. Dr. Thomas Lubin, he's a good man. He says, do you want to take these pills? Begins with a D. I forget what. I'll tell you tomorrow. Take one of these, 5 milligram, take it every day. He says it comes in 5 milligram, 10 milligram, 25 milligram. I said, I haven't been taking them because I don't think I need them. But maybe I should take. He says, take them because they'll keep your mind working, longer, even though you don't need it now. But, get it in your system where you're taking it every day. And it will, it helps your brain. I forget I'll get the drug out here so you can find out. Anyway, circling back to not this crazy guy here. Look at that picture. The media is so unforgiving. They are just so annoyed and petrified that this guy won his office again. This guy is good for us. He's going to whip up this government. He's going to rip out the crap right by the, like you go through and you pick out the weeds. Well, he's picking out the weeds in the front lawn of the U.S. government. They are doing a good landscape job. You want to have a nice lawn out front, you got to pick out the weeds. Well, that's what he's doing. And the people are, whining and screaming because those are the people that are on that got their hand out. It says there's billions that should not be spent, and look, we got a lot of trillions in debt, and that's got to stop. We have to balance our budget, and that's what he's working on. He said we're going to have a balanced budget, by the end of my term, and the first thing we got to do is we got to tighten the belt, trim. Pull the weeds out front, We have to pull them out ourselves. We're not going to hire the landscape guy to do it. When you have people like Elon Musk, who's got a team of really smart people, And I'm not talking about 15-year-olds, that know how to program computers in their basement. We're talking about serious, accomplished CEO businessmen. Like the guy who founded Airbnb. Now, there are no toys in his attic. And these guys are not necessarily, they're financial people. Anyone that's the CEO of a company, you have to be financial people. You have to understand finance, and assets and liabilities and financial statements and quarterly reports and, what investors want and what investors don't want. If you're CEO of a company, you're on the board of directors of a company, you know about these things, as I do, because I was CEO. I was director of a bank and a bank holding company for, 12 years or so. So that's Trumper there, and that's Elon Musk, and that's the founder of Airbnb, and there's 7 or 8 other people that are, I would say independently wealthy, and they took a leave absence of their companies to come to spend 4 or 5 months auditing some of these agencies, like the Social Security Administration. There are 15 million people that are registered in Social Security that are over the age of 120. Now, what? 15 million. If we're paying them benefits, that's $26 billion a month that we're going out to people that are 120 or older. Now that's, they triple checked it because it's such a crazy, what? We don't have anybody over the age of 120 that's alive, anyone that we're in the world. We got someone that's 110 or 112 or something, but they're, not 120 or older. So that's the kind of stuff they're kind of routing out. And the media and, certain people are, there's some agitators that are financed by Soros. These people that get together, Soros pays them $100. They bus them in from wherever into Washington so they can be screaming and yelling at front doors. They pay those. They're paid agitators, and they pay $100 a day, $50 for a half day. Here's your sign. Go out there in front of and after about 5 hours of that, you can leave. Drop your sign off where all the other signs are. And that's, they're all, signs are coming off printing presses. Someone's paying for that. And that's a crime. You're not allowed to do that in this country. Yeah, you're allowed to protest and all that stuff, but when you start firebombing cars and shooting bullets through plate glass windows, Tesla dealership, they found the guy that threw the Molotov cocktails, at these cars, lit them up on fire. They caught the guy. He's in jail. And he's going to be prosecuted big time. Pam Bondi said this guy is going deep underground. And they can do it. And if they don't wreck you personally, they'll wreck you financially. When the government gets done with you, they shake out all the quarters out of your pockets, put it that way. They turn you upside down and shake you from your feet. You'll feel like it's the worst part of your life. And it will be the worst part of your life, guaranteed. So you don't want to do those things. And hopefully that discourages other people. Yeah. So Anyway, with that happy thought, hope you have a good rest of your day. We've had a nice coffee session here, trading information, hitting a variety of, someone asked me, well, what are you talking? Well, I was circling back to Flakowitz. So I got up and Marilyn and I are leaving Flakowitz. We had, I had hot pastrami and a cup of matzo ball soup. How about that for breakfast at 11 o'clock in the morning? So yeah, I had a half a hot pastrami and soup special. So I had hot pastrami on rye bread, hold the mustard, and a bowl of matzo ball soup, and put vegetables in there. I don't want a whole bunch of chicken in there. I got the matzo ball and vegetables, if you don't mind, because the servers actually ladle it out. I said, do your best. You don't have to pick out chicken, but don't go for it. They try to do you a favor. They pile up a half a chicken on there. I'm not a big fan of having chicken meat in my matzo ball soup. I like the vegetables, carrots and celery and onion, but I'm not a big fan of having big chunks of chicken in my matzo ball soup. That's all. Nice chicken broth, but hold the chicken. Anyway, so we had a nice breakfast. She got some kind of salad with stuff piled up on it. I forget what they call it, but she gets it all the time with cut up chicken bits and cheese, and she puts on everything that I don't want to eat. We're like opposites when it comes to that. So I get half a hot pastrami sandwich and a cup of soup. I've had that 5 or 6 weeks in a row here, maybe 10 or 12, whatever. It's one of my go-to. I'm not a big scrambled eggs guy. They give you a ton of it. They give you too much. You have scrambled eggs and, whatever else you put on the plate with scrambled eggs. And there's all kinds of things they can add to that, It's plain scrambled eggs, with butter and salt. That's how I like it. But, you want like an egg and a half, maybe 2. They give you like 4.5 eggs. It's like the whole half a plate is scrambled eggs. That is not 2 eggs. It's like 4 eggs. Just imagine scrambling 4 eggs and put it on your plate. It'll fill your plate. Well, that's how Flakowitz gives you scrambled eggs. I said, could I ask for 1 egg? I'll pay the price, but I don't want that much eggs on there, and I hate to throw it away, because they got to pitch it when I get it and don't eat it. They have to throw it away. Anyway, so that's what I had for breakfast. So we're circling out of, walking out, because when you're done, you're done. So we got up and headed for the front door. So we're walking down the aisleway, and Howard, he said, Howard, hey, Jim. He said, I was listening to you on on YouTube, a couple of mornings ago. He says, you do that all the time? And I said, yeah, I do it every morning at 8:15 goes, in a couple hours. It's like sitting around with Jimmy having coffee, right? He said, yeah. I said, that's great. I said, well, Howard, keep it up, He may be listening to me right now. He's a good gentleman of the city of Boca Raton. His last name starts with a G, Howard G. I don't want to release his name unless he tells me it's okay to use his name, which I'm not going to do because that's not in my character. I'm not trying to embarrass anybody. He's a marvelous gentleman. I'm glad to have met him over the years. He knows what I did in banking and this and that, and he's a very experienced financial person. He's a serious financial person. Put it that way. I was a relatively serious financial person too. I was vice chairman of a commercial bank in the state of Florida. We bought the bank minutes before the FDIC was going to seize the bank. You know, the insurance company, the FDIC insurance, you know, that's the entity that seizes the bank when it's about to close because of the failure of them operating the bank properly. There are a certain number of banks that close every year or every 4 years or 5 years. Well, the bank that we bought was going to be closed on Friday. We bought it on Thursday. What do they say? If it wasn't for the last minute, nothing to get done? Well, that's a story. I'll tell that another day. Because it's 11 a.m., like, exactly. So, it's 11 o'clock and it's 28 seconds. I see it on the internet time clock here, that's got to be that has to be accurate within 50 milliseconds, or the FCC will come running to them. Really, the FCC controls that, oddly enough. They must have the correct time, or else. So they have the correct time. They tune into a certain satellite, and it broadcasts the exact time. So you sync up with that, baby. And these broadcast networks and so forth, they sync up like every hour, you know, or every 10 minutes, or constantly. My stuff here all syncs up with it within 50 milliseconds. When it goes 11 a.m., they all go at 11 a.m. at once. So if you've got alarm clocks set and all different kinds of devices, they all chime at the same exact second. You're running around like crazy trying to turn off these things. All right. So I'm going to say goodbye, and you all have a great day. I'm going to try to figure out how to have some breakfast. I think I'm going to boil up some fettuccine. I have 2 boxes of the Daco fettuccine, and I boil water, put a little salt in it, put a little olive oil on top, get that boiling, and then throw in, you know, one at a time. You know how you open up your hand and all the fettuccine noodles drop into the pot? So I do 2 pounds. They're 1 pound boxes. I boil them up for like 9.5 minutes. And I grab a noodle out and I throw it on the countertop. And then I cut it with a knife to check to see if it's cooked through to the middle. That's called al dente. You don't want to overcook. You don't want to overcook it because then, you know, the noodles get, you know, like slimy. You know, if you cook it 15 minutes, forget it. You've just killed the fettuccine. Now, if you're going to put fettuccine in another dish and bake it, then you only cook it. You know, you soften it up just so the noodle is flexible. That's like 5 minutes, like you par cook it, like you would if you were par cooking some lasagna noodles. You cook them just long enough so when you lift it up with one of your devices, you lift it out of the pot of water and it hangs over your spatula or whatever, so that it's flexible. You just want to cook it enough so that the pasta is flexible. Not 100% flexible, but you know, at least 50% flexible. Particularly with the noodle that you make lasagna with. You cook that you par cook it for 5 minutes. Because you're going to put it in a baking dish and you're going to bake it for 40 minutes, which means you're just going to get it up to, so the temperature in the middle is like 170. You know, if you stabbed it with a probe, you know, so it's all bubbling and everything. So that'll finish up the cooking of the lasagna noodle. So it takes almost 15 or 18 minutes to get a fully cooked lasagna noodle, but you don't want it fully cooked. I've hardly ever done it because I've always par cooked it to put it in lasagna. Anyway, so I cook my fettuccine al dente, which is, if you want it fully cooked, then you cook it 11 minutes, but otherwise it's 9 or 10 minutes. So about 9 1/4 minutes, I set my watch. You know, I have a timer watch, Apple Watch. You got a button where you can set it for 9 minutes or 10 minutes or 11 minutes. I got it set for 10 minutes. So, you know, when you put the fettuccine in there, the water stops boiling because the fettuccine is at room temperature. You know, the pasta out of the box is 70 degrees. Well, you throw 2 pounds of pasta at 70 degrees in boiling water, it stops boiling. And it takes a couple minutes to come back up to boiling. Well, the time is really when the water is boiling. Well, for 2 minutes, it's not boiling. So I go halfway between, say 1 minute. So if it says al dente in 10 minutes, if I set my watch for 10 minutes, it means it's only been really cooking for 8.5 minutes. Yeah, I mean, so that's why it's actually perfectly al dente when I set my watch for 10 minutes. Because I put the 2 pounds in there and I set my watch. But the water's not boiling anymore because the pasta went in there and ruined that. So with the range top I have, it takes a couple minutes to get that back up to boiling again. So it's not cooking as fast in the initial stages of the water not boiling. That's it. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that. Anyway, I'm going to go get some fettuccine, boil it up, and I'm going to make up some mushroom chicken gravy sauce to put on some fettuccine noodles, and that's going to be my late breakfast. Or I have the last batch of spaghetti sauce I made last week, which I need to eat that up today or pitch it. I froze the rest or gave it away. My sons, I give it to my 2 kids, and we have ourselves. So I have one small container, and it's it's good for a couple more days. So I'm either going to eat that today or I'm not going to eat it, or I'll eat it today or tomorrow. So I either have the mushroom gravy today or my world famous tomato sauce. I'll give that a taste and a smell. If it looks okay. It was cooked, like exactly a week ago, so it's not like it's been in there for 2 weeks. Anyway, so have a good day. I hope I haven't scared you with this with that Trump face. Outside the Rose Garden yesterday talking about tariffs. So he's answering the question, but he's got fire in his eyes. That Trumper, he knows what he's talking about. Yes, he does. And he's willing to spend his life fighting for all of us to get our government right, to get our military right, to get all our health and human services right. God, he's got Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in there as the guy in charge of HHS. The food side, not the. Yeah, I guess it's health and human services. Yeah, and he's doing a hell of a job. He's going to get rid of some of these dyes. And if you look at the contents of certain foods over in London, and you look at the labels and the stuff that these manufacturers put in our cereals and stuff to make it, pretty for the kids to eat, but it's poisonous. Well, I mean, sort of. There's some chemicals that they use to color the food that is dangerous. It produces cancer, for God's sakes. And Robert F. Kennedy is going to prosecute all these companies that don't voluntarily stop using certain chemistry in the foods that they're delivering. That's what he's doing right now. So, and only a kick-ass president like Trump will be able to face off, Kellogg's, or that's just the name, or CW Post Toasties. I'm not a cereal eater, so I don't know. General Foods, some of these, food manufacturers are getting away with murder, if you will, by having some of this chemistry in the food products. Whether it's preservatives or coloration, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the nephew of John F. Kennedy, his father was assassinated, his uncle was assassinated, and Trump has got him a Kennedy family member, a senior in his government, as one of his cabinet officers. Only a very confident president is capable of attracting some of these hard hitters that are willing to do, donate a portion of their life, for a salary, in exchange for meaningful work. They're doing it because it's meaningful work. Whether you're working for the Department of Justice or, Health and Human Services, these different cabinet officers are very serious, smart people. Like Hegseth. Everyone's giving Hegseth a bunch of crap because 10 or 15 years ago, he would drink too much and party with some of these girls that wanted to be partied with. Well, he's not doing that now, but 10 years ago, 15 years ago, he did. So they were trying to not allow him to be Secretary of Defense because, he was a little wild and crazy when he was, 35 years old. Well, now he's not. Now he's 45 years old, and he's a much more serious guy. Now, and on top of that, I think he graduated from Princeton. Remember the top 3 Ivy League schools, at least when I grew up? Harvard, Princeton, Yale. You would get into Harvard, Princeton, Yale, and you were like, one of these brainiacs that was in your high school. Well, he was one of those. So he's a smart guy that got into Princeton, graduated, by the way. He didn't go into freshman year and then flunk out. He graduated, serious graduation guy. And then he was chosen, permitted, he's an applicant to join Harvard for a master's degree at Harvard, which he did. He went to Harvard and got a master's degree. So he went to Princeton for 4 years and he went to Harvard for 2 years. So this guy's no, slouch. And he was in the Marine for 20 years. Okay? So as a Harvard, Princeton graduate, he went into the services because he felt duty-bound to help our country. And he's a 20-year graduate, if you will, with 3 tours of duty in the Marines. Now, the Marines is like a pretty kick-ass part of our military. I don't know anything about the military. I didn't go in. They tried to get me in, but my mother wouldn't let me. Seriously. Oh, God. West Point, they were after my ass big time. Oh, God. I scored like in the top 5. President Kennedy had this health and physical fitness thing. The John F. Kennedy health, and physical fitness thing. So, of course, all the 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds, 12-year-olds, everyone in high school and junior high school, or probably elementary school too. Everybody in the school, you had to have a health and physical fitness in your program. An afternoon volunteer things that you would do at your school. Run around the track. Do push-ups, sit-ups, barbells. Whatever. Health. Anyway, so I spent 6 months training for this health and physical fitness nationwide challenge. Well, New York State is not a joke. New York State's a serious state with a lot of people in it. It was like the 4th largest state in the country, back then. back in the 60s, the mid-60s. I graduated in 63. Wow, that's a long time ago, huh? 1963, I graduated high school. So in 1962 or 3, I scored. So you had to do push-ups, squat jumps. You had to run 100 yards. You had to do 21 pull-ups. You had to do 60 sit-ups within 2 minutes. You had to do, 60 squat jumps within 2 minutes. You had to do 21 pull-ups. I don't think they had they probably had a time limit on it, but there's only so long you could hang from the bar before your hands would, give out. So I don't remember if they actually had a time. I mean, I did the pull-ups, within a minute, maybe a minute and a half. 21 pull-ups, all the way down and all the way up. Chin over the bar. All the way down, all the way up, chin over the bar. And they had Marines, watching you and clocking you, and if it was a timed event or whatever. So I scored in the top 5 of New York State. That's pretty. What I say? New York State is a pretty serious state. Anyway, so the colonels or I don't know the chain of command. There was, a senior guy was pointing over at me to one of the guys that was like supervising some event that I was doing, because there were like 5 events, and everyone was keeping score on clipboards. So all the clipboard people got together, and they're comparing notes. Who's this Jim Wilson guy? What the hell is he? So the commandant, the head of, at West Point. Really, we went to West Point for the finals for the state of New York. We went to West Point. We were on the grass at West Point. And they had all these military guys with their hats on and boots up and, dressed in their greens, whatever they call it. And the commandant, I'll just call it that. That's probably the wrong word. That supervising all these Marines that were West Point guys that were doing what they were doing with the clipboards, Jimmy, he did the 21 pull-ups. This guy did 17 pull-ups. This guy did 19 pull-ups. So I was always, at the top. Well, you had to be at the top of most of these categories to be in the top 5, right? Now, these are finalists. So you already went through 2 other layers of, only the best, only the top, let's say 200 would end up on the campus of, West Point, to do the things you had to do, to be a finalist, to be number 1. I wasn't number 1. I wasn't number 2 either. So I was either 3, 4, 5, or 6. I forget where. I was in the top 10, probably top 5. I think I was 5th. So, you didn't stand on a thing and they gave you a badge. It wasn't one of those. They just kind of tell you. Yeah. Anyway, I got a pat on the back and number 5 and said, "Hey, we want you in here." So I said, "Well, hold on. Let me talk to my parents." So I would tell said parents. My mother said, "Absolutely not." Is there anything else, James, you'd like to talk about this evening at dinner? No, that's about it. I scored number 5 in New York State. Hello. And they want me to, join the West Point folks. She says, "No, you're not going to do that. Because if you go there, you're also agreeing to serve 4 years in the Army. And that ain't happening. No, there's too much shit going on out there." She didn't use the S word, but, you had the Vietnam War thing that was heating up. And no, because they'll send you over there and you'd be crawling in the mud. No, but we'd be seeing you. Nope, absolutely not. Not happening. So that was the end of that. So I didn't do that. I went to Union and I graduated with a in biochemistry and pre-med. I was a half inch away from getting in medical school. I had 2 scholarships there and let them go away because of my girlfriend. Because she said, I didn't know my father, and that's not the way we're going to be if we ever get married. You're not going to be a doctor because you got to find something else to do. And sorry, if you go to medical school, we're done. So I didn't go to medical school. 9 months later, she dumped me anyway. There's a success story. Yet, I got dumped 9 months later. Yeah, God. That was not one of my best decisions. I started off hard and nose down in the mud. Yeah, she dumped me. Maybe it was 10 months later. She dropped me like a hot rock. Woo! And ran off with some guy from Case Western Reserve. That's where she went to school. And some big dude there stole we were engaged, stole my fiancée. Would you believe it? She said, Jimmy, we're done. Ooh, you? Really? She said, Jimmy, come on up here. We need to talk. So I went to Cleveland, Ohio, at Case Western Reserve, and met with her somewhere. She said, Jimmy, we're going to be done. It's been great, and you're wonderful, and this and that, but then, and we'll spend this weekend together, but that's it. We're done. So we did everything that boyfriends and girlfriends do, and then she gave me a final kiss goodbye. She said, we're over. Here's your ring back. She pulled the ring off her finger and gave it back to me. She said, we're done. Have a nice life. I said, wow. That's pretty... I mean, I knew that was coming all weekend because she said, come up here, we have to talk. So I knew something was up with that. So about the last hour of me being there at Case Western Reserve, in her dorm room, in my underpants, we had this little heart-to-heart talk. Oh, God. Yep, that was the end of that. There was going to be no Dr. Kildare in her life. That was the TV wonder of my time, Dr. Kildare. I think he just died shortly ago. All right, sports fans. Gosh, I keep talking. I keep telling you. Stop it already. All right, I'm done. Have a great lunch. It's not breakfast time anymore. I told you I can keep talking. If you keep asking questions, I'm going to keep talking. I'm done, I promise. Bye-bye. See you tomorrow, 8 o'clock, 8:10, depending on the internet. That's the only reason why the time... I was actually on before 8 today, 7:59, but bye-bye.